Hi, this is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of the GreenFox spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to make it behave like a computerized baseball scorebook or scoresheet. It also automatically computes the game stats, which can be a big time saver. And even better, GreenFox can be configured to operate in one of three different league modes where it can track the cumulative stats for all players and teams in the league. In this video, I'm going to cover the main feature enhancements in GreenFox version 4.2. And the two main features in this version are what I'm going to call the team color feature, which is not a maybe not a functional feature enhancement, but it does make the spreadsheet I think look a lot slicker. And the other feature has to do with the schedule and recording what I call scored only games, and we'll talk more about that when we get to that feature. So, team colors. In this video, I've just finished upgrading a league that I had that was running version 4.1, and this is a historical team season league. You can see here that I had created for the 1971 Detroit Tigers. And you can see after I upgraded it, it now has this team colors column. And if I hover on this team colors header cell, you'll see because it has that red square, it's got some pop-up info. And basically, it just tells me how to use this team color feature and or how to set it up. And what it says is in these squares, you can set the color in the background. Sorry about that. Of each of these cells, and those colors will be used mainly on the score sheet, but and also on a couple of the pop-up windows or pop-up user forms that the score sheet uses. And once you set your colors up, it'll save it. But if you want to change your colors and use it right away, we'll talk about how to do that. So since I'm using the Tigers, I'm just going to focus on uh, them. I won't do all the teams, but so you can do this a couple ways. I typically will, right click on this cell, and really it's just these two squares or these two items that set the color. So this one here sets the background with the bucket, and this other one with the A sets the text color. So for the Tigers, I'm going to go with an orange background. So I'll go with more colors. You know, you can use different ways to choose these colors with like this custom or standard. I like to make this box a little bigger. So I'm going to go with this orange here for my background. And then I'll make my text maybe navy blue, even though it probably looks pretty close to black anyway. But let's say I pick this blue. Well, maybe that blue's more the tiger's blue. But anyway, so that'll be my tiger colors. And we could set some any other teams. I'll say I want to do the A's. Maybe I want to make them, I'll use this green that's already here. And for their font color, I'm going to use this yellow. I could use white, or you can make these whatever you want. They don't even have to be the real team colors. For the Senators, since I think that's one of my next games, I'm going to pick this gray, maybe a little lighter gray. Their background, and I'll go with a red text. I think who else? Any different ones I could use for these A's. I forget in 71. I think Kansas City had these cool blue uniforms. But anyway, I'll just go with this light blue and dark blue. Let's go with this navy blue for the Tiger. So that's an example. And you can do some of the teams, you can do all the teams. Like I said, you can do however you want. But Oh, I should. So the other way to do it, let's say for the Orioles here, instead of right clicking like I was doing, if you go up here to this home button, here are the two things that can set your colors here. So let's say I'm going to do, maybe I could put it black and then with orange text if I use that for my Baltimore. Maybe I'll make it a little, but anyway, that's probably good enough. So that's how you set the colors, and that's part one. So I'd say once you're done with that, feel free to, you can maybe save your spreadsheet. You don't have to, but it's always good to save it. And then let's see how to put these to work. So now I want to load a game using these colors. Now, even though I saved it, if I load a game right now, I, it won't use these colors, and I'll just show you what I mean. So if I go to my score sheet, click my game ID, back to the schedule, doesn't really matter here. So let me just pick this, what was it, Washington game. I was gonna, right here. So this next Lowledge game would be this Washington Senators game. But I'll click this, and you'll see when it loads it, there's no special colors going on here. And the reason is, so I'm going to reset this. And the reason for that is, even though we saved our spreadsheet, it's not loaded into the league yet. So that's one of the reasons you could use this button here. So when you, if I close my spreadsheet and reopened it, it would use the colors. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to click this reload league info, and behind the scenes it reloads all the league stuff. And one of the things it does load are these colors from the spreadsheet. Uh, Another thing I'll mention is you can change these colors anytime during your league season. So you can pick some colors, try them out. You can, if you don't like them, feel free to change them. It doesn't matter. Uh, it's not something that's part of your permanent league feature. You can always change it at any time. So now I'm going to just try loading this game again. Now that I click that reload league button here, I'm going to go to the same thing, load it, and now you'll see what this feature does. And I reorganized this a little bit over here on the side to have put these titles above the batting stats, which you can see here for the team names, and on the scoreboard here, these stats, and here in the pitching area. So it just gives it the spreadsheet a little more pop. Um, it also shows up on the, if I use the floating scoreboard, it shows up here. And it shows up, I think, on this edit lineup. It shows the team colors there. So it's as simple as that. So it's not, like I said, it doesn't change the functionality of the spreadsheet at all, but I'd say it does make the spreadsheet look a little bit cooler. So that's how you use the team color feature in version 4.2. You set it up on this league sheet. You may need to click the reload league, but save it, and then you load your games in the score sheet. You'll get these nice team colors on your score sheet. So feature number 2 is the scored only games feature. So let's see how this works. So again, I just upgraded this 1971 historic team season for the Tigers, and you can see here on the schedule now it shows two different boxes here for completed games and played games. And I guess the obvious question is, what's the difference between the two? Yeah, if you look at these red triangle things here for these cells, you can see the completed games, which is also kind of, think of it as scored games, includes two types of games. Number one, the played or simulated games that you've saved with game stats, which is what would be all the games you've done so far. But the number two is what's new, is that you can now enter a score for a game on a schedule, and if you use this asterisk, as it shows there in red, then that score for the game will be reflected in the standings, although there won't be any game stats associated with it. And the main feature of this enhancement is that you can keep your standings, you know, up to date or to reflect maybe more games than you're actually playing. So one of the original requests for this feature was a person who was replaying a team season, so all games for their particular team, but they wanted the rest of the standings to reflect the other games that were being played. So this would be a way that you could enter those results into those for those games to have those standings show the entirety of your league or whatever games you want to include. Um, One option, if you were to create a league, also I'll mention now using the updated version of the retro sheet data file. I think it's version 3. When you load your schedule, it will actually put in the historic score of the game over here in this actual score column. This league I created before I had that built in. But if you use the latest version of the retro sheet GreenFox data file, when you create your league, it'll put the historic score here. Um, you still have to manually put it in over here in the score column, but that's it's there for your reference if you want to use historic results. So let's see how to use this feature. So the way to do it, as it mentioned here in this cell up here, was you enter the score with an asterisk at the beginning. And also I mentioned this other uh, cell here where it says played games. These are only games that you've played and saved the stats from the score sheet. So these would be, before version 4.2, all your games would be played games. But now it kind of separates played games as those you save the stats for on the score sheet with completed, which could be scored only or saved with stats. So that's why it shows two things. So to do this, we first, because we want to make a change, if you try to go to the score thing and enter something up here, you'll get this error. So you need to unlock the schedule first by clicking that button. It'll tell you it's unlocked. And while the schedule's unlocked, you can't load a game in the score sheet. So then we could enter a result for this game. And again, you put in an asterisk, and then the visitors, let's say that the Tigers won this game 3-2. Whether they did or not, I don't know, but that's what I'm putting in. And you could, so if you only want to change one game, you click this lock, and what will happen here is you'll see when it locks this, it'll color in these cells as if because the game's completed. And before I do that, I want to go over to the standings here, and we'll see right now the Tigers were 15-15, and the Orioles are 1-3. And I expect that to change when we lock this. So if I lock this, you can see here because the Tigers won, and it's a historical team season, so it always highlights your team. So this shows the Tigers in green because they won, and this game played because it's gray, and they won 3-2. Now if I go over to the standings, you see it doesn't automatically update here because you didn't play a game. But if I click this compute standings, we should see this change from the Tigers and the Orioles. And let's also take a look at another new feature in 4.2 is this column here, this run differential. So that is another kind of spin-off from the Blue Links hockey spreadsheet that had goal differential. So I decided I could put in this run differential in the baseball and it won't hurt anything. So I'm going to hit compute standings. You'll see now it has the Tigers won that game, so now they're 16-15, and the run differential went from 17 to 18 because they won by one run. And now the Orioles are now 1-4 because they lost. And again, you could unlock this and enter it as many games as you want to. They don't all have to be in order. I could put in here that maybe the Tigers got bombed by the Orioles against Dave McNally, but maybe they won a close one against Pat Dobson. So you could do multiple games, and then lock, it'll put them in. If you make a formatting mistake, it'll make sure that you get the score right. You always have to enter the visitors dash home, just like all these other scores are here. And if you made a mistake, let's say, oh, maybe let's make sure this works. If I, oops, unlock this and change this one to maybe the Tigers lost this 5-3. I put it in wrong. Now when I lock this, it'll correct this color. And if I go to my standings, it will update them also. So that is the scored only feature. Again, you can use it or not use it, but that's how it works. You basically unlock it, enter a score with an asterisk, it marks it in the standings, it computes the runs in the run differential column, but it does not impact any of your stats. So that is how to use the new scored only feature. So a couple other minor things I'll mention. Well, one, to finish up this scored only, you'll see now that when you lock it, it updates these boxes here, these cells. So now it says I've completed 34, but only played 30, which tells me I have 4 of these, asterisk games in here, which I do. So that is how it keeps track of those games on the schedule. I'm going to jump over to use my navigator to go over to the version sheet here, just to maybe talk about a couple other things. So here are the new things in version 4.2. We talked about the custom team colors. We talked about these scored only games in the schedule. We talked about the run differential and standings. I mentioned on the score sheet this tweaked batter stats layout just to make room for those title header cells for the colorization. It's the player substitution form now has the player team on it. I think that was, let's double check that. So let's load a game. Let's load this Kansas City, Detroit. See how those colors look. That looks good. I'm just going to start this game and then put in a pinch runner here. So if I put in a pinch runner, this is new, where it now shows what team the substitution list is. It's minor, but it just also kind of shows the colorization. So let's go back to this version sheet. I tweaked the order of some of the pitching stats in the box score to match up better with kind of the baseball reference box score pitching stats. And one other minor thing here is on the league leaders of how it lists the rankings of the order of the players. So if I look at the league leaders, I need to compute these stats first. So let's do this. So let's compute these stats. And before, the league leaders, would just list 1 through 10, pretty much no matter what. But what this is going to do now, let me compute these cumulative stats, or these season stats, and at the end it'll prompt me for the leaders. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say make it minimum of 4 games. And this doesn't matter if I say both or American, because there's only American League games, so it doesn't matter. So when I compute these leaders, notice this. I'll say it's pretty minor, but you'll see here, like this says 1 through 10 for the OPS and things. But you see here in the batting average, these two got the same, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 3, 5 because it's tied for third. And you know, similarly down here in triples, everybody's tied for first place that has a triple. So that's the only difference. Is it numbers these a little more, I guess I'll say intelligently. So if you're tied, it shows all those players that are tied will have the same rank as 3. So that wraps up the new features of GreenFox version 4.2.
Well, that wraps up this GreenFox video. I hope you found it helpful. But either way, I'd appreciate any feedback, whether it's what you liked about the video or the spreadsheet, or things you didn't like about the video or spreadsheet, or ideas that you have to make either the videos or the spreadsheet to make it work better. I appreciate all the feedback. Thanks again for taking the time.